You will have that recording. And a big thank you to Jamie at the University of Denver for making that possible. And then I want to dive in and start by giving a lot of love to your awesome team. So this is being brought to you by APSIA. And of course, you've got folks all over the APSIA world who are supporting your success. We've got Laura from Georgetown. We've got John from Duke. We've got Jamie from Denver, as mentioned. Please thank them for bringing you this session because they are working super hard to support your success, even in the midst of the crazy stuff happening in the world out there. So give them a lot of love in the chat using your favorite emojis. Okay, a little bit about your presenter today. First of all, I've had this super lucky career where I got a chance to try lots of different things. First, I was a kindergarten teacher in New York City. Then I came out to Silicon Valley to work for Apple and Google. And then I came full circle and I worked for Khan Academy, confusing those two passions, education and technology. But the one place that truly rocked my world was getting a chance to work at LinkedIn. And that's because LinkedIn is the global nerve center when it comes to hiring. If you want to understand how recruiters do their jobs, how students get hired, you can do no better than looking inside the black box that is LinkedIn. So, with that in mind, I'm going to be sharing secrets with you, like I've been sharing with students around the world, to help you land jobs you love. But I want to give you a little roadmap to where we're headed. So, first of all, we're going to be spending a lot of time understanding the hiring process in the US because it's not nearly what people make it out to be. We're going to talk about how to discover sponsorship opportunities. And then, most importantly, we're going to help you stand out in a crowded field. So, no matter what the world throws at us this year, we are ready. With that in mind, I just want to encourage you to do three things today. First of all, I want you to answer some pop quizzes in the chat. Easy peasy. You'll see those coming up. Number two, I especially want you to volunteer for some live role plays because it's a great way to learn, and I have some prizes as well. Namely, if you are selected for a live role play, I will send a free copy of my ChatGPT for Careers book to you, the best-selling AI guide on Amazon. Or if you prefer, I'll give you a LinkedIn profile makeover so you can stand out, get found by all your dream companies. And then third and finally, even if you don't want to volunteer, no worries at all. Just do me the biggest favor, which is take action. Try these things on your screen today, get results immediately. So here we go. Let's talk about the US hiring process. If you had to guess, which of these three candidates tends to do the best in the US when it comes to getting hired? Is it candidate A, who's really great at taking tests? Candidate B, who's really awesome at doing the job? Or candidate C, who really understands how other people think? So, Amy, Fatima, Grant, Kristen, everyone out there, I want you to come to the chat as fast as possible. Give me an A, a B, or a C. Okay, I'm saying Yuting says C. Fatima says C. Dave says C. A lot of C's coming in, which I love. Let's go to Yuting first. Yuting Shang, if you don't mind unmuting your line for one moment, why did you say C?
Thank you. So I think this answer, um, because if you understand how people think, so you can perform yourself very nicely in the interview. So maybe the hiring manager may prefer you better than other candidates. That's what I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. Said, hey, if we can understand what our hiring manager cares about, or what our recruiter cares about, that is a massive bonus because here's the reality. We like to think in America that we are the land of meritocracy. We're the best and brightest get the best jobs. However, having been in this world for 20 years, I know that's not exactly true. The reality is that at the end of the day, the American hiring process is super human centric. I know there are other countries in the world where your success comes down to a test score or how well you are, how proficient you are at a given job. But in the US, because it's such a qualitative decision where recruiters and hiring managers get to choose who they want, a lot of it does come down to understanding what actually matters in their minds. And that's exactly what the session is all about today. How do you understand your audience? How do you make those insights work for you? And so we're going to get into all the things that American recruiters are looking for. But before we get there, we're going to talk about the big elephant in the room, which is sponsorship. So, next pop quiz. If you had to guess which of these three firms sponsored the most product managers in 2024, was it A, Amazon, B, Google, or C, Facebook? Come to the chat right now. Give me an A, a B, or a C, and then I will reveal the answer. Okay, Yuting says B. Julia says B. Rico says A. Dave says A. Tice says B. So the A's and B's are duking it out. Let's go to Rico. Rico, why did you say A? Why did you believe the answer is Amazon? And feel free to unmute Rico. Just let us know why you picked A. Okay, maybe Rico's having some challenges with their audio. No worries at all. Just get ready because it's a super interactive session. So the reality is, it is Amazon, but here's the more important thing. The way I got that information was simply looking for it on myvisajobs.com. And chances are you're using this tool or you're using InnerStride or all these other tools. You always want to start with data. And with this data, you can start to figure out who's actually getting hired, who are the top sponsors. However, what you probably don't know about is that you can uncover hidden sponsorship opportunities using a totally different platform, which is LinkedIn. So, to show you this off the beaten path approach, I want the first person to raise their hand right now, claim that free profile makeover or that free book, and get a chance to find amazing sponsorship opportunities. All you've got to do is raise your hand or type in the two magic words, I'm in, right in the chat, and that opportunity is yours. So, who's going to be our first volunteer today? Again, don't be shy. I'm going to tell you right now, this is the hardest hiring moment I've seen in over a decade of career coaching. I will tell you right now that the people who are about to be hired are the ones who are brave. So courage is required by this moment. And our first courageous volunteer is going to be Washington Shimuzu. So, Washington, thank you so much for volunteering. Everyone give Washington a lot of love in the chat and welcome Washington. So glad you could join.
Thank you, Jeremy. Glad to be here.
Hi. Hey, great to have you. So, Washington, tell us this. Where are you coming from and where are you studying?
I come from Malawi, but I'm currently studying at the University of Minnesota here in Minnesota.
Beautiful. Oh my goodness. Okay, you have to tell me this, Washington. What was the transition like when you went from Malawi climate to Minnesota climate?
Totally different. From the tropics to Minnesota. Yeah,
Okay, got it. Well,
but it's
hopefully
great.
Minnesota told you all about bringing a parka and a scarf and all that.
Yeah, yeah.
But now that you're a Golden Gopher, what I would love to do is I would love to help you find some additional opportunities. So Washington, I don't know if you went to undergraduate university in Malawi, but even
Yes,
if
I
you
did.
didn't, what would you say is like one of the top Malawi universities in the entire country?
It should be the University of Malawi.
University of Malawi, beautiful. So watch this. One of the interesting things that my team built when I was at LinkedIn is this thing called the alumni tool. So you can
Hmm.
absolutely come over here and say, University of Minnesota, show me everyone who's in the tech industry or everyone who's in public relations or international affairs, whatever. I'll just give you this particular example. The
Hmm.
problem is, a lot of these people may not have been sponsored. They might have been Americans, citizens already. They didn't have that challenge. So if you want to understand people who necessarily were sponsored and people who have something in common with you want to look up for universities not just in America, but in your home country. So we're going to look up University of Malawi, and there it is. We're going to look that up right here on LinkedIn. And what we're going to say is, actually, let me do it this way. University of Malawi, and I'm going to search specifically for schools. And you'll see why this is a different result. When I come over here to schools, now we can focus on the right one. So let's see here. Are either of those universities the right one?
No,
No.
no.
What is it known by?
So
Yeah.
it's also known as I see they changed the name to Malawi University of Business and Applied.
Ah, okay, got it. Yeah, I had a feeling. And of course, LinkedIn is very sensitive to all these changes because they're always trying to keep it up to date. But this is better. Okay, here we go. So Malawi University of Business, and you could say of all these people who have gone on to get sponsored in the US. So here's what
Mhm.
we're going to do. We're going to come over here. We're going to start a people search. And this time, we're going to come right over here to people. And we're going to say of everyone who graduated from that university, who's in the US today. So Malawi University. Let's see here. I don't know. It's not showing the exact right ones here, unfortunately. It may be going by a different name on LinkedIn. That being said, what you can say is, hey, show me everyone who's in the United States who went to those schools. And the power of this is you can start to figure out, okay, if someone went to that university and came to the US, they almost certainly got sponsored. And so my recommendation for everyone out there is to use your home country and then follow the digital footsteps. And I'll give you a better example here, Washington. I'll just pick IIT Delhi or someplace like that. So for anyone coming from India, obviously IIT is a big school. Even if you didn't go to IIT Delhi yourself, what you could do is say, hey, for this university, I want to see all the alumni, and I specifically want to see all the alumni who've come over to the United States. Sure enough, there are 9,000, and
Wow.
almost by definition, they are getting sponsored. And you can see exactly where they are: Google, Amazon, Microsoft, Apple, Meta, all these great places. Plus, if you reach out to Napum or Bhavika or Sahil, you can actually say, hey, I'm following in your footsteps. I've come to the US to make my way in this world. How did you get sponsored? What did that process look like? What are the teams in your organization that are most likely to offer H-1Bs? And that way, Washington, you're not just flying blind based on generic national data. You are getting insider information from people who've been on this path before. Does that make sense?
It does. Thank you.
Okay, Washington, do you have any questions about this process or how you might use it to uncover new opportunities?
Yeah, how open and free are people in sharing information? I know
Yeah,
some
great
tend
question.
to be guarded.
Yeah. So here's the beautiful thing, and I believe this to be true, but you can tell me if you disagree. I find that the further removed you are from wherever you grew up or wherever you went to undergraduate university, the more powerful those ties are. So that I've found that when my friends who may have gone to IIT Delhi reach out to someone from IIT Delhi in Delhi, it's no big deal. Everyone went there. But now, if you're on the other side of the world and you meet someone who shares that bond, it's a lot more powerful because you feel more close knit. You feel more of a connection to that person.
Hmm.
So what I suspect, and tell me if you've experienced this, Washington, is that when you meet fellow Malawians in the US, you guys are going to have an instant bond where if they've already been here for 10 years, they're going to want to pay it forward a little bit. Have you
Hmm.
felt that? Yes or maybe yes or maybe no?
Yes, I have.
Okay, that's great. So Washington, I want to give you big props for being our amazing first volunteer.
I have.
What I would
Thank you.
love to do is help you with a profile makeover or a free book or however I can be useful. So send me a note on LinkedIn. There's my profile. And then we'll follow up to get that scheduled right after the session. Thank
Oh,
you, Washington.
thank you.
Okay, everyone, give it up for Washington. He was fabulous. And then I want you to ask your own toughest questions when it comes to sponsorship, when it comes to opportunities. If there's anything standing in your way in terms of uncovering these hidden opportunities, I would love to talk about it. So I'll be looking for your questions, and you can put them in the chat or you can raise your hand. And if there's no questions right now, I have a follow-up question for you. And that is, let's think now about our friends, the recruiters, those people on the other side of the screen who have a very tough job. Here are all these recruiters at all these companies, all these organizations, and they're looking for you. They're looking for top talent. What do you think is the first thing they're going to search for when they come to LinkedIn? Are they going to search for a certain degree? Show me all the bachelors of arts. Show me all the masters in international policy. Are they going to search for a certain school? Show me the University of Minnesota. Show me Georgetown. Or are they going to search for a certain function? Show me a policy analyst. Show me an IR expert. And I'm seeing a lot of different answers coming in. Yu Ting is saying B, question mark, which I love Yu Ting giving it a shot. Fatima says C. David says C. Let's go to Fatima. Fatima, you said it's all about function. Why is that so key?
I think that when you are looking for someone to fill a role, you want to make sure that the person can do the job and kind of degree school their bonuses and maybe indicate something that would take a good box. But the baseline is you want to make sure the person can do the job, and so that's why I pick function.
Fatima, you said that so beautifully. I hope you spread that word around the world because at the end of the day, the recruiters need to know, can you do this job? Everything else is just frosting, nice to have. And as a result, because we have this kind of delusional idea in America that everything is just a pure meritocracy, we've got to understand exactly how this works inside the recruiter's workflow, inside their mind. First thing a recruiter wants, exactly like Fatima said, is they want obvious candidates. No recruiter wants to stick their neck out for someone who doesn't make sense when they could just go with a candidate who clearly can do the job. And how do they figure that out? They use their tools. Now, what you're looking at on the screen here is this very powerful tool called LinkedIn Recruiter. It's not the same version of LinkedIn that we use as free users because it actually costs $10,000 per year per seat. And the reason it's so powerful is it gives recruiters access to pretty much every white collar professional in the world anywhere. And exactly like Fatima said, they say, hey, I'm not going to mess around with schools or degrees. I just need to know, can you do this job in my location with these skills? And so I want you to look at your LinkedIn profiles right now, because this is going to be the best way to understand how recruiters are seeing you. If your LinkedIn profile talks about your degree and your school, those are great things. They should absolutely be there. But if it's not also talking about what you can do for that recruiter, like I want to be a product manager, I want to be an international relations consultant, then you are being missed out on every single day because other students, other professionals are being found for that exact job title. So if you want to figure out how to send the right signals that makes you an obvious candidate, I want you to raise your hand right now. I'll help you with your profile, help you with your keywords. I'll get your foot in the door. And we're going to start with David Chu. So David, thank you for volunteering. Everyone give David tons of love in the chat. And David, come on down so we can kickstart this journey. Welcome, David.
Hi, Jeremy. Yeah, thank you so much for for this event.
Oh, my pleasure. David, tell us about yourself. Where are you coming from? Where are you studying?
So I'm from Georgetown. So yeah, Washington D.C. and I'm studying international affairs.
Beautiful.
And so yeah, I never noticed what you just mentioned about because now on my LinkedIn is I just put my degree up there, so like William here on the screen. But yeah, no, I should definitely be like the other guy.
Yeah, that's right. Be like Mata-san. So now here's the big question, David. Do you already know the exact role you want so we can start to blend it into your profile?
This is a little complicated because right now, like I need my program requires a internship for me to graduate. But after I graduate, I'd say I'm slightly unsure, but I'm mostly aiming for I'd say analyst or consulting in terms of just international affairs or anything related to that. So I'm not sure what you would recommend in that
Oh,
case.
yeah, absolutely. And so just to be clear, what kind of analyst did you say? Was it like an IR analyst or?
Yes, yes.
Okay, beautiful. Okay, so here's what we can do. And maybe I mentioned this in our session yesterday at Georgetown, but one of the things you can do if you're feeling stuck is you can always use ChatGPT, not for the worst use case, which is write me a cover letter and get a really generic one, but instead give me a sense of what's possible. I want to do IR work after I graduate from Georgetown. Um, what are 10 job titles I should focus on? And of course, this will help boil that ocean of opportunity down to the stuff that actually makes sense. So yeah, School of Foreign Service, there it is, Foreign Service Officer, International Development Specialist, Policy Advisor, International Trade Specialist, Intelligence Analyst, different ways of sort of slicing and dicing. So of these 10 roles, did you want to go for maybe like a policy advisor role, a policy analyst role? What were you thinking?
I was think, do I have to pick? Do
Oh,
I have to pick
you don't have
only
to pick
one?
one of these. I wasn't sure if you were just feeling lost as to the exact job title.
Oh,
So
no, no.
okay.
I would say I want to go with like, analyst slash like advisor consultant, but like,
Yeah.
maybe that's too much. I should only pick like one or two.
Yeah, and I'll be clear, you can definitely have some optionality. Let's work it through together. So David, I'm gonna pull up your profile here. Again, everyone give David a lot of love because it takes guts to put yourself out there. And then also get your own profile on your screen so you can start to see how you can make changes on your side.
The second one, yep.
Yeah. So here's David's profile. Now, again, David has that classic student profile, and I get it. This is how we all begin. We all start with our degree, with our school. All those are great things. However, you can't be found yet because recruiters can't see what you're actually focused on, which of course is what they care about, as Fatima said. So now we come over here and we could put in, international relations advisor. We can talk about what we did yesterday, seeking international relations advisor internships, whatever the right variation is. And then to give you some of that optionality, you could say international relations or policy, or you could say international relations advisor or analyst internships. And you're baking a little of those plan A, those plan Bs right into your headline. Does that make sense so far, David?
Yeah, that sounds pretty nice. So I should still like, prioritize an internship at this stage just because, that's, well, it is a priority
Yeah,
indeed.
I'll be honest with you. Like, I think the best thing you can do to help out recruiters, which helps out yourself in turn, is to be clear about what you want. So many students out there are basically creating their own black box around their profile because when I look at these profiles and it says so and so candidate at Georgetown, I might think Muna Heel might be the world's greatest candidate, but if I don't know what she wants to do, I can't see if there's a fit. Does that make sense?
Right, right. No,
Okay.
that's fair enough.
Yeah, so let me walk through this kind of the way that I would if I was a recruiter or a headhunter. First thing is I would say, hey, is he even in the game? Okay, now he's in the game. Now I look at your about section and notice what I don't see in the first, two sentences before it gets cut off. What am I missing here, David?
Just my contact method. So yeah, the last, yeah, so
Well,
you
remember, I'm not
click
ready to
more.
contact you because I'm not sold on you as a candidate yet. Remember, I have a desire for obvious candidates, as we were talking about. How can you make yourself obvious in those first two sentences?
What I'm like specialize in, like, what's my
Yeah, the exact role you can do for me, right? Because remember what Fatima said, and she said it so beautifully. I wish I could have it on tape so we can play it back. Fatima said, can you do this job? And all of this stuff is nice, but it doesn't answer that question. So here's what I would do. I would say, as a candidate of this program, I am seeking a IR analyst internship for the summer of 2025. And as a result, there's no more guessing games. There's no more black boxes. There is just explicit clarity about what you want, and I can see whether that matches what I want. Does that make sense, David?
wow, yeah, no, that certainly, like, offers quite clarity.
Yeah. Here's a little test you guys can do. This is a little trick, by the way. Obviously, you guys have amazing career coaches, and many of them are on the line right now. But sometimes even we coaches are too deep in this world. So I would ask someone who's totally outside of the search, like a random friend or a random family member. If you looked at my profile for 6 seconds, because that's how much time recruiters are giving you, what am I focused on? What job do I want? And if those people can't tell you the answer in 6 seconds, the recruiter's not going to think of that for you either. So that's the ultimate test. Is it clear enough that even a layperson would get it right away? So you want it in your headline, you want it in your about section, and I encourage everyone out there, make those changes right now. So make sure that those first couple things work for you instead of working against you. So David, do you have a good sense of your marching orders, how to make yourself obvious from here all the way to here?
Yeah, I believe I do now. Thank you so much.
Okay, well, definitely shoot me a message on LinkedIn so I can work
Okay.
on a deeper makeover and get into all the other good stuff. But for now, for every student out there, from Amy all the way to Yang Li Hong, please make sure that your profile is obvious because recruiters don't have time for anything else. Great job, David. Okay, if you've got questions about the top part of the LinkedIn profile, the headline, the about section, feel free to stop me. Otherwise, I've got the next pop quiz coming right up. And that is, what the heck do recruiters do to decide whether you're an eager candidate? Let me explain this, and this is a little tricky. So here's that powerful recruiter screen that we were just talking about. And on this screen, I'm searching for that perfect candidate who can do the exact job, the exact location, the exact skills. But now we've got a big problem, which is even with all those filters, I've got 43,000 candidates. And I do not want to read 43,000 profiles. So what I've got to do is I've got to get really focused. And there's a couple of things at play, and I want you to understand all this. The first thing is that even as a recruiter spending $10,000 a year on LinkedIn, I have about 30 emails a month, 30 messages to new candidates, which means I've got to be really choosy, especially because LinkedIn makes me a deal. They say, hey, we know 30 emails a month are not very much, but if you reach out to people who really like your message and they respond, we will refund that email credit because we love when you create value in our ecosystem. You help yourself, you help the job seekers. That's mutually beneficial. So now I really want to find people who are likely to respond. If I want people who are going to respond to my message, I've got to make sure that I filter for candidates who are eager and engaged. And if you want to figure out how to make these filters work for you and win a free profile makeover, raise your hand right now in Zoom. First person to raise your hand gets the next opportunity, and this time it's going to be Lauren's. So Lauren's, thank you so much for volunteering. I saw your hand before, and I'm so glad you came back for this one. Welcome back, Lauren's.
No worries. Thank you as well. Yes.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Yes.
And
Yeah. Doing
before we
well.
dive in, how do you pronounce your first name?
Lawrence is
Lawrence
completely
is good.
fine in
Okay,
English.
perfect. So
Yeah,
Lawrence,
yeah.
where are you coming from? Where are you studying?
I'm from the Netherlands and I'm studying in Geneva, graduate in.
Wow,
Yeah.
very cool. Okay, so Lawrence, let's do this. Let's make sure these filters are working in your favor, not against you. What I want to know is what's the name of an organization that you would like to join someday? Could be a government agency, it could be an NGO, it could be a for-profit company. What would make you excited?
That's a good question. I would say the Elders is the name of
Ah,
the organization.
very cool. Is it an NGO?
It's sort of an NGO, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Well, I want you to imagine you're a recruiter there and you're looking for top talent, trying to fill this role. So now you're staring at the screen. You say, okay, I got to cut this list down. Let me offer you some choices, Lawrence. You
Mhm.
have two strong candidates, but only one in-mail left. Do you send the in-mail to candidate A, who is raising their hand on LinkedIn and saying, I'm open to opportunities, or candidate B, who's totally opaque? You have no idea about their intentions.
A, of
A, and
course.
why?
Because it increases the likelihood that my email gets seen and gets responded. Yeah.
Right? Because we know that incentive is so powerful. I don't want to waste in-mails in particular, and I have the extra bonus of if the student responds, now I refund that credit. Okay, Lawrence, do you have any idea how you can raise your hand on LinkedIn to signal your interest? Where does that come from on your profile?
Um, that's a good
If anyone
question.
knows, put it in the
The
chat.
funny thing is that I have it.
Okay, you have it. Got it.
But it's already there for some time, so I don't know anymore how I switched it on actually. But I mean, in blue over there on the left, it says open to, so that should be perfect.
Aha. Yes, and Fatima got it as well. Open to work is that signal. Now, there's a lot of mythology around this. Everyone is debating, hey, if you've got that green badge on that says open to work, does that make you look desperate? Are recruiters going to kick you out of the process for it? Well, guess what? It doesn't matter because you can turn on the signal. You can say, these are the jobs that I want. This is where I want to be working, how I want to be working. And you can send that signal just to recruiters without the green badge. Here's the best part. At some point, Lawrence, if you are employed and you're looking for a new job, you can even send that signal just to recruiters, and you can exclude all the recruiters at your current company so the HR department won't rat you out to your boss. So it really is the best of both worlds. All the right people, none of the wrong people. I encourage every student out there, please turn this on because this signal is directly linked to this filter. That's step one. Let's talk about step two, Lawrence. Again, you've got two candidates, one in-mail left. Candidate A knows nobody at your company. Candidate B knows five people. Who gets the in-mail
The person with 5 people can be.
and why?
If they know people in the company, it increases the likely. It's networking. It increases the likelihood that they apparently have a fit. For example, that they're related to people, so that
Yeah,
they maybe know something about the industry and something about the job.
yeah, you nailed it. At the end of the day, this human-based process that we have, at least in the US, is highly relational. I'd much rather go with someone who's plugged into my network, where I can do a little background check or I can get a warm intro, than a total stranger. As a result, there's a massive preference for people who are plugged in. Now, Lawrence, tell me this. Um, Before we even get into the question of whether you know people at the elders, I just want to understand what your mathematical odds are. So, how many connections do you have on LinkedIn today, Lawrence? If you had to guess.
I would guess between 500 and 1,000.
Wow, not bad, not bad. Now, here's the big
So,
question.
uh-huh.
How many people have you known over the course of your entire life, Lawrence, even for a little bit of time?
For a little bit of time, let's say that would be one day,
Mm-hmm.
maybe.
Yep.
Yeah, let 15,000 maybe.
Yeah, well, it turns out the average human knows at least 5,000 people over the course of a lifetime. So at the very minimum, you're losing 1,000 or more people in terms of what LinkedIn knows about you. You have in real life relationships that aren't not represented on LinkedIn. And the reason that's a problem is what if some of those friends have gone to work at the elders or other companies that you're interested in and you don't even know it. Well, if LinkedIn doesn't know it, you don't get credit. And so before you worry about getting a million connections of random people, just get credit for the people you already know. Would you like a simple hack, Lawrence, to see how to do that?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Check this out. If you come to the My Network section, I'm going to give you this link right in the chat. What you will see over here is that LinkedIn's data scientists are scary good at guessing who you know. If you've ever studied network theory, you know that if I know Isabel and Isabel knows Lisa, there's a good chance that I know Lisa as well. And so, based on who you already have, they're going to make some educated guesses, and you're going to be shocked at how many people they figured out. So, what I want you to do, Lawrence, next time you're sitting at home watching a soccer match, football match, just go right down this list. Connect, 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 connect with all those people you already know. And then, if one of them ends up at the elders, all of a sudden you're plugged in versus being left out in the cold. Does that make sense?
That makes sense, yes.
Cool. Easy hack. Okay, number 3. Imagine that you have two candidates. Candidate A is following your company on LinkedIn. Candidate B is not following your company on LinkedIn. Doesn't matter.
That matters, yeah. I would choose for candidate A, yeah.
Why? Who cares?
I mean, apparently it's the candidate that has an interest in my company. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Because again, we've got to decide, are you in-mail worthy? We're going to spend this really scarce resource on you. We've got to know that you've got some skin in the game. And so a simple signal, as dumb as it is just following the company you love. Watch this. We come to LinkedIn, we type in the elders, there it is, the organization. We click on their follow button. That single click that takes you less than 1 second, Lawrence, could change the course of your life when it gets you filtered in here versus filtered out. Lawrence, would it be worth your while to follow 20 or 30 organizations you're excited about?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Yeah, think about the ROI. The numerator is massive, life-changing opportunity. The denominator is 20 seconds. So work on that over the weekend. Get credit for that interest. Now, Lawrence, you've been amazing today, just absolutely on fire. These are the 3 visible filters, but there's one important filter that's invisible. Imagine now you're a data scientist at LinkedIn, a data scientist. If you wanted to predict how likely a user is to click an email and reply to that email, what is the single most important data point about their past behaviors? What is the best predictor?
How recently they have been online on LinkedIn?
Not just how recently they've been online, but how recently they've actually clicked on emails. Because here's what LinkedIn knows, and this is a dirty little secret that LinkedIn doesn't want you to know. The vast majority of people are not that active on the site. They don't check their inbox, they don't respond to emails, and even if they're the perfect candidate, it wastes the recruiter's time because they never see the message. So, Lawrence, this is the last question, and you've been amazing. What should you be doing with your emails to make sure that that signal works for you as opposed to working against you?
Respond to them quickly, even if the response is, I'll think about it. Like
Exactly. And you don't even have to think about it, to be honest. All you have to do is click the little button that says no thank you, and you're done. That tells LinkedIn that you're alive, you're engaged, you respond to emails, and it makes you worthy of getting more emails in the future that are a better fit. Lauren, you crushed all 4 of my challenges. I definitely owe you a book or a profile makeover. Please shoot me a message right away, okay?
Thank you very much.
Of course.
Yeah,
Enjoy
thank you.
Geneva. That's beautiful. Oh my goodness. Lawrence was absolutely on fire, y'all. Give him some love in the chat. And then if you've got questions about anything we just covered in terms of these filters or those filters, feel free to ask. No question is too big, too small, or too spicy. And again, you can put those questions in the chat or just raise your hand if you want to ask live. I'm just going to pause for one moment. All right, let's go to Yu Ting. Yu Ting, what's on your mind?
Oh, hi. My question, I don't know, because maybe it's different because for my age, I'm a very junior position and I'm in
Yeah.
Switzerland. I don't
Yeah.
think people use a lot of the LinkedIn to search for junior position. I guess the recruiter use the LinkedIn, maybe search for senior positions in LinkedIn. So I don't know if I really do a lot, but maybe recruiters doesn't use LinkedIn to search for my profile for junior position. How do you think this? Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So, this is an interesting question that came up in our conversation at Georgetown yesterday. It's absolutely true. When you are very early in your career, if you're just coming out of undergrad, you're right. No recruiter is going to be headhunting you, not at this stage. However, here's what's going to happen. These techniques that I'm talking about today are going to define the rest of your career. As an example, as soon as I graduated from my graduate program and I had had an internship at Apple and I was starting at LinkedIn, I started to have recruiters coming out of the woodwork saying, "Hey, Jeremy, interview at Google, interview at Facebook, interview at Amazon." And so, in some ways, what we're talking about right now is not just preparation for the next year or the next job, but for the rest of your career. If you can build these profiles and these habits today, you're going to be so much more successful, not just immediately, but for the long term as well. Great question, Yuting. Thank you for asking that.
Thank
Okay.
you for answering.
Oh, of course. Yuting, you've been amazing today. Thank you so much. Okay, if no other questions, let me go on to our last thing here, and that is the biggest thing. Okay, imagine you're a recruiter. You have all these candidates who are applying for jobs, and they're all coming in online, their career sites, their job boards, but unfortunately, they're all strangers. As a result, you just don't trust these candidates because you don't know them. That's human nature 101. And if you don't believe me, look at the data. 75% of all job seekers across the world are applying online, and yet they're making up a measly number of the actual hires. This is a dead end. On the other hand, if you get those rare candidates, fewer than 1 in 10, who are referred by someone in your organization, you are so much more likely to be interested because these applicants are coming from someone you trust and someone you're ready to invest in. You are 10 times more likely to get an interview and get hired if you get referred. And so, for our last demonstration, I want to show you how to get a referral at any organization in the world, no matter how selective. This is your last chance to win a profile makeover. So, raise those hands. And our final volunteer is going to be Fatima. So, Fatima, you have been amazing today. Please come and join us one last time to help us close out this session. Welcome, Fatima. Again, everyone give Fatima lots of love, lots of nice emojis her way to let you know you're supporting her. And then Fatima, just let me know when you're ready.
Hi, I'm ready.
Hi, Fatima. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Sure. I'm originally from Sri Lanka, and I
Cool.
moved to the US to take up a master's at Stanford University.
Beautiful. At least you went from Sri Lanka to Stanford versus Sri Lanka to Minnesota. That also would have been a tough
That's
one.
true. Yeah, the
Um,
sun is nice here.
so Fatima, tell me this. If you could work at any organization in the world, no matter how selective, no matter how tough to break into, what would be one that would make your heart go pitter patter with joy and excitement?
I have a couple. I guess right now I'm looking at Human Rights Watch as an
Yeah.
organization.
Beautiful. And I can imagine the Human Rights Watch is probably even more selective than Stanford in some ways, because there are so many people who want to do good, yet so few opportunities. So now, if we want to get you into Human Rights Watch, we got to get you a referral. The only question is, Fatima, do you know people at HRW already?
I do. I've even had an informational interview with one person, but I think I still struggle to close at the end and actually ask
Yes.
for a referral. And
Yes.
I guess I'm also not at the point of still applying. The advice I was given was don't apply too early for a job that starts before you actually graduate.
Sure.
But when I am applying, I'm still not confident about actually going up and asking for a referral. It's very difficult
Yeah.
where I come
Yeah.
from.
I promise you right now, and this is a promise for everyone online, you are about to see how to actually do that part. Because here's the thing, everyone knows that referrals matter, but the data is also clear that no one gets them. And I think the big chasm is because we're just not sure how to do it. So let me sort of get rid of all the mist, all of the mythology, and show exactly how it's done. Okay, so Fatima, here's what we're going to do. We're going to start by looking up Human Rights Watch. And I want everyone on the group, please look up your own desired organization, whether it's an NGO, government agency, tech company, whatever. Find that organization and then find this little shortcut. If you click on the number of employees at the organization, you now have a company directory of everyone who works there that's actually more detailed than the company directory that's on their servers because you know where they went to school, you know what they studied, you know who they know, all these great things. So, Fatima, let's think about this like a Venn diagram. You have 1,600 people who could refer you someday. How can we filter that list for people who want to refer you, who have something in common with you? What should we filter for?
Would school help if they're an alum of the same school?
Absolutely. So we can put in Stanford University. Obviously, you could put in different parts of Stanford. We'll just do regular Stanford for now, show results. And voila, almost a dozen people on the inside who have the Stanford connection. So let's look at these opportunities here. I like this Raymond, advising and consulting. That sounds pretty exciting. Again, right in the Bay Area, so you could even meet up for coffee. Now, if you wanted to get in touch with Raymond, who's doing this exciting work with these different organizations, what's your strategy? Do you want to connect? Do you want to message? Do you want to do something else? What's the best way?
I can tell you what I do, and please correct me if this
Yeah.
is wrong. So I always first send a message, and I'm like, "Hi, I'm interested in this." Maybe a line about my background, and say would love to connect, or would be grateful to connect, and possibly talk later.
And I want to be really clear about this, like really specific about the steps. Do you literally click the message button and then buy LinkedIn Premium?
Um, I've tried that, and I'm
Okay,
not.
yeah. And because LinkedIn makes it so tempting, right? They say, oh,
Yeah.
LinkedIn Premium is the secret to job search success. Let me tell you the truth. Turns out that the only success that LinkedIn Premium leads to is LinkedIn's own success, their own bottom line. The reality is you do not need it. As David said, you can connect with a message. You can add a note over here. Or if you've run out of those on your free account, you could download another tool called Apollo.io. I'll show you how this works. It's a little Chrome extension that basically joins directly with LinkedIn. You can access their email address directly. Either way, I do not want you spending your hard-earned money, Fatima, on making LinkedIn profitable. Make sure that you are profitable first and foremost, okay? So that's number one. But number two is there's a bigger problem. If you reach out cold to Raymond, whether it's Connect, whether it's LinkedIn Premium, whether it's email, what is your chance of getting a response?
Well, I think it might be possible because if I lead with the fact that I'm also from the same school, I found that that works better. But I've had mixed results. I've had a lot of
Yeah.
people who haven't responded sometimes.
Absolutely. So I want to be really clear. The power of university, at least in the US, where people are so loyal to their beloved alma maters, is outrageous. You know, if Raymond had not gone to Stanford, your chance of getting a response if you reach out cold is essentially zero. Versus because he went to Stanford, it's 10, 20, 30%, which is an astronomical leap, but it's still not 100%. So now let me offer something even more outrageous, Fatima. What if I told you there was something else on the screen right now, even more powerful than Stanford, that would guarantee you a 100% chance of getting in touch with Raymond? Does anyone know? Let me know. Aha, check out what Yu Ting said, Fatima. You and Yu Ting are just doing amazing today. It's the
Mutual
mutual
connection.
connections. And here's the beauty of LinkedIn. This is where it really shines. You know, you probably could have broken in to HRW servers. You could have downloaded their corporate directory, but you would still not have the invisible web of connections that binds us all together because only LinkedIn can see that. So here's what you really want to do. Never do cold outreach when you can get a warm intro. You reach out to Rachel, you reach out to Anna, whoever you know in common, whoever knows this person well, and you say, hey, would you mind introducing me to Raymond? Rachel goes to bat for you. Says, Raymond, you've got to chat with Fatima. She is a rising star in this space. If she goes to work for any other NGO, you're going to regret it until your dying day because she is just that good. And she's a Stanford Cardinal on top of that, as if that wasn't good enough. Now, what are your chances of having that conversation, Fatima?
Oh, pretty high.
Yeah. And you know what's interesting here? It's the same thing that powers referrals themselves, which is our trust of people we know, also powers warm intros. We just cannot say no to friends when they make those intros. So, bottom line, you have a guaranteed conversation. And again, maybe you're grabbing coffee in San Francisco, in Palo Alto. Either way, what's your strategy, Fatima? When you sit down with Raymond, how do you want to have this conversation?
Um, I guess I want to of course, introduce myself, maybe find some common ground. I don't know if this is great, but I've noticed that people also love talking about themselves. So I'm always like, tell me
Yes.
about your career. Tell me.
Yeah.
I try to prep with research about the organizations, have specific questions so that they don't feel like time is being wasted.
Yeah.
And I try to kind of towards the end talk about opportunities, advice on how to approach, and any suggestions. But I've never really been able to clinch it. I mean, like,
Right.
will you
And
refer me?
here's what I think is so hard about getting referrals is that it combines two very mutually different goals into a single conversation. So on the one hand, you do want that referral, you do want that edge. But on the other hand, as you correctly identified, Fatima, you can't just come in and say, give me a referral, because that is the kiss of death. That's so transactional, so awkward. And so I love the idea of starting with what you have in common. How did you go from Stanford to HRW? What was it like to work there? How do you know Rachel? How do you know Anna? All these things that warm him up. And then, before he goes to his next meeting, before he walks out of this conversation, you need to plant the seed of a referral. Not necessarily get a referral immediately, but at least plant that seed. What do you think is the ultimate question, Fatima, to put that seed in the ground?
Um, Something about like existing opportunities or future work. Would
Yeah, so here's what I've noticed. Even the most plugged in employees don't know what's happening throughout the organization. So when people said to me, Jeremy, are there any jobs for me at Google or Khan Academy or LinkedIn? I would say, I don't know. Go ask the HR team. But here's the question that you want to ask instead. This is a more general, more specific to you. You say, Raymond, before you run, one last question. If you were back in my shoes at Stanford and you were trying so hard to break into HRW, what would you be doing right now to get your best shot of an interview? And there's something about the empathy of having been in your shoes, about the specificity of the request, that seems to make every alum super honest in my experience. And almost always say, hey, I was referred, my whole team was referred, half of our employees were referred because the data is so clear about that. And then they say one of two things. They say, hey, maybe you can send me your resume right afterwards and I can refer you for a role. Or B, they just leave the door open a little bit. They say, hey, let's stay in touch. If you see the right role, maybe I can refer you down the line. Either way, once that door has been opened up just a little bit for you, Fatima, do you have the confidence to walk on through?
Yeah.
Yes, yes, Fatima. This is the reality. And this is what I was saying at the very beginning. I know that job seeking is super tough right now. There are hiring freezes, there's crazy stuff happening in the government. But the reality is, we control what we control. And this is one of the biggest things the relationships, what we put into the world. And if you can do exactly what Fatima just demonstrated, it doesn't have to be rocket science, doesn't have to be sketchy, but it does take a little bit of courage. Thank you so much for demonstrating that, Fatima. You were fabulous.
Thank you.
Okay, shoot me a note. Let me know if I can send you that book or that makeover, and we'll make it happen. Thanks so much, Fatima. Okay, everyone give it up to your amazing colleague. And then before we close, if you've got any last questions about this crazy American hiring process, about the recruiters at the middle of it, their incentives to find obvious candidates, eager candidates, validated candidates, let's talk it through because I don't want you going out into the world in 2025 looking for jobs in a way that doesn't make sense. Let's go back to Lawrence. Lawrence, what's on your mind? And feel free to unmute there, Lawrence. Just let me know.
Still there. I'm sorry.
Hey,
I really liked how you gave us some tips on how to improve the first parts of our LinkedIn profile, and I'd love to hear more from that, but about you on that. And yeah, I think if I ask it right now, like, the entire group can benefit from it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And by the way, that is a huge incentive for everyone to ask questions because the questions that you're thinking about are the same ones that your classmates have all around the country and the world. So I love that attitude, Lawrence. Okay. When you want to understand what matters to recruiters, the simple thing is to start with the recruiter screen. And this recruiter screen basically will tell you what you need because you can look at their hierarchy. So we already talked about the primacy of job title. You got to get your job title into your headline. You have to be clear about it in your about section. You have to be obvious. But what else are they looking for? Well, in this case, they're looking for locations, they're looking for skills. So let's think about that. Lawrence, if you could work anywhere in the world, where would you want to be working after you graduate?
Right now, I'm thinking of Jordan.
Jordan, really? And you're
But
currently based in Geneva, is that right?
yes, indeed. Yeah.
Okay.
But I want to live and work here in the long term, but before that, I want to live in different continents.
Okay. So does your profile right now say that you are in Geneva?
Yes.
And if I
Probably.
was a, and if I was a recruiter and I filtered for people in Jordan, would I ever see your profile even if the keywords were great?
No.
No, it's a
No.
binary match. You're either there or you're not. So you have two options. If you are 100% all in on Jordan, you could actually change your location because you're like, hey, I'm moving to Jordan as soon as I graduate. I want to signal that to recruiters. Or if you have some sort of questions about, hey, I'm not really sure where I want to be, you can list out 5 different options under open to work. So you could list Lausanne, you could list Geneva, you could list Jordan, and that way recruiters can find you in any of those locations based on that optionality. So that's step one. Make sure your location is aligned. Step two is the keywords. Do you actually have the skills that matter? Now, Lawrence, if you wanted to figure out what the most important skills were for the jobs that you want, how could you do that? How could you see into your recruiter's head?
By looking at people that currently have those jobs and what skills they have listed.
So that's really
By
good,
using
but it's
ChatGPT.
still 1 degree removed from the source. So, for example, if I looked at someone who was already successful in the space, just because they have certain keywords on their profile, doesn't mean that those keywords are most important to the recruiter. So always go right to the original source, which is the job description. What job do you want to have after you graduate, Lawrence? What's your dream job?
Good question. For now, let's say consultancy. So
Okay.
consultants for development agencies.
International development, consultant, job. We'll just find a job here to use as an example. Okay, here's a job with the World Bank Group. Very exciting. So we grab this job description and look how long it is. 500 bullet points, all these acronyms. What we do is we bring it over to ChatGPT and we simply ask a couple questions. What are the top 15 most important skill keywords in this JD job description? I'm giving everyone this prompt because I want you to try this right now. Get this onto your AI. And then you've got your list, right? Here are the things that AI has identified as the key skills because it's comparing it to every other JD it's ever read, so it knows the patterns. Okay, that's number one. Now we go over to your profile. We say, okay, let me look at Lauren's profile. Um, Tell me if you see yourself on this list. Maybe not. Okay,
No.
I'm just gonna grab Diana's profile in the interest of time. You would go to more. You would go save to PDF. You're gonna download this profile, and you're gonna simply go upload from computer, and you're gonna say which of those skills am I missing? And essentially, you're doing the same thing the LinkedIn algorithm is doing, or the ATS is doing, which is running that comparison. This is the stuff you're missing. This is why you will not be found today. And then your job, Lawrence, is to fill in those gaps as fast as possible. Hey, I've done this. I've done this. I've done this. Let me add it to my resume. Let me add it to my LinkedIn profile. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Yeah, amazing. Thank you very
Cool.
much.
I know that was a very quick crash course, but I love that question. So I couldn't resist giving you those extra tips. Thank you for calling that out, Lawrence. Okay,
Thank
awesome.
you for your enthusiasm.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. Any other questions? Anything else that you wanted to speak to, whether it's interviews, negotiation? Yeah, back to you, Ting. Hi, you, Ting.
Jeremy. Thanks for your no, for your speech. And I think you are the most passionate speaker that I have ever listened.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Hopefully
like
I'm not too over the top, but I appreciate that, you, Ting.
yeah, but your speech is not only helpful for my LinkedIn, but also helpful for my interview. Like your passion, your enthusiasm is really the ideal situation I want to achieve in my interview. So I would like to ask you, how can you keep your energy, your enthusiasm in every speech, and how can we learn from you, like to keep our situation very nice in the interview to make people feel our energy? Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, Yuting, this is such an important question because again, going right back to where we started, if we know that American hiring is driven by human mindset, we know that we humans are very swayed by emotion, by energy, all of these things. Now, here's my big secret, Yuting. Because I've practiced this so often over the years, I'm not even thinking about smiling and raising my voice and all those things. It's just automatic. Your challenge when you get ready for interviews is you want to make it as automatic as possible to be energetic and engaging, even if you're not thinking about it. And the way you do that is you schedule time with your career coaches to practice, but you also complement it with offline practice as well. And there's a really great tool, which is on LinkedIn under the job section. It's called Interview Prep. And the way this works, Yuting, is that you're going to practice just like professionals practice sports or professionals practice music, where you're going to take your most important techniques. So maybe you want to be an analyst, for instance, and you're going to practice it with a recording because you have to understand how you're coming across in someone else's mind, not just getting stuck in your own. That's number one. And then number two, you need to hold your feet to the fire. Say, if I want to be engaging, if I want to be energetic, what does that mean? Well, first of all, it means speaking at the right pace. I speak a little too fast. Some people speak a little bit too slow. How can I find that perfect middle zone? Am I going to be really engaging with my pitch or am I monotone? And do I have all these filler words, these ums or likes that detract from my energy? And you can even take this answer and you can share it with an alum who works inside your desired company to get insider feedback. And here's the best part, Yuting. What I just showed you is 100% free. You do not need LinkedIn Premium to use that tool. Do you think that could be helpful? Okay, awesome. That's great. Well, I know we're almost up at time, so I just want to thank everyone for being such an engaged and awesome audience. I do want to give you a couple goodies before we go. So first of all, I would love to stay in touch. If there are any questions you have an hour after the session ends or tomorrow morning or even a year from now, please let me be of service. I love what you are doing for the world and I want to support you on that journey. So feel free to connect. Number two is if you want that book that I was mentioning before, I've got a little giveaway for you, which is if you come to Amazon and you sign up for a free trial of Kindle Unlimited or Audible, the audiobook version, you can download the book, cancel the trial immediately, and you still keep the book forever with my compliments. And as I said yesterday to Laura, with Jeff Bezos' compliments too, I like to believe, although he's kind of gone off in his own world now. And then finally, my last crazy thing for you is back when I was in grad school, so in the same shoes as so many of you, I was lucky enough to be there at the very last event that Steve Jobs ever did because I was an intern at Apple that summer. And one of the things that Steve really taught me that day is even when he was sick and he was frail and he was tired, he still kept on going, giving more and more and more. And at the end of his session, he pulls out the slide that says one more thing, and he introduces Siri for the first time on stage. Well, in honor of that moment that shocked me at the time, I want to give you one more thing, and I call it Profile Bot 4K. Now, here's the goal. You don't have to love LinkedIn. You don't have to use it a million times a day, but you do have to tell your story there so that you can find and get found for opportunity. So if you know that you want to be an international relations analyst and you know that you're going to have to tell a really good story to make your case, here's how to do it the best way. Start with a great headline that focuses on the job. Have an amazing about section that nails what you're looking for. Make sure you have the right keywords. Make sure you stand out. And if you can use this tool, you can do exactly what Steve said, which is go out there and just make a big dent in the universe. And I think we all know this in our hearts. We need your talent in this world more than ever right now. Our world has been so disconnected, so driven apart by everything happening. We need folks like you to go out there and rebuild those bridges. So I salute you guys for all the incredible work you're doing and are about to do. And I can't wait to see the incredible dent that you make in your universe and our own as well. Thank you so much, everyone. Hope you have a beautiful start to the new year.
Thank you, Jeremy, for this great presentation on behalf of APSIA. And for everyone who's in attendance, I'm adding one more link to the chat, and that is just a cautionary tale to watch out for all those scams that sometimes target international students. So if you have any questions about something that you think might be a little suspicious, check out that link. Jeremy, you are so amazing for not only your time, but all these great resources. Thank everyone here for coming and for being such active participants. You all made it a wonderful presentation.
Cheers all.